Welcome everyone to another Total War Warhammer 2 online multiplayer replay. Today we are looking at a replay sent in by the Cool Umbrella from Clan BBB. Cool Umbrella is a very experienced tournament host, and he also uploads a lot of replays from his tournaments onto their clan's YouTube channel. So if you're interested for some more competitive Warhammer action, do go check them out. Now for the army builds, we have the Norsca here by Cool Umbrella, bringing in a very wide infantry build with a lot of marauders, more marauders with great weapons, and at the back, 4 Marauder Horsemasters. These guys my favorite skirmishing cavalry with massive missile strength in every one of them. They will do some heavy lifting, even against the heaviest armored knights. Now for leadership, we have the familiar Bane with fire coming in with cascading fire cloak and the burning head. Also, Wolfric the Wanderer bringing in his teleporting ship, his attack buffs, and also Hunter of Champions. In the corners, we have some Vanguard shenanigans with the Norscan Warhounds on this end, and a familiar warriors, the Mist Stalkers, stalking in this corner. They're not exactly the most competitive pick for their underperformance usually, but still, being able to hide in plain sight, they should give the Empire a little bit of a surprise. Now for the Empire build here, we have a whole line of state troops, spears, swords, and Sigma Suns mixed in together. At the back, some crossbowmen and more missile fire coming in the form of anti-large huntsmen. Also, a unit of silver bullets there to provide that armor-piercing missile fire against any heavy monsters of the Norsca. At the back, we have more state troops protecting the rear of the missile units, and some Knights of Blazing Suns. Leading the army, we have Volkswagon the Grim and also a light wizard coming in with a net and Shim's Burning Gaze. And that's basically it for army builds. Let's get the battle rolling and see what happens. Now, of course, Norscan players, as always, will be the one rushing, pushing forward, and try to threaten the Empire army, while the Balefiend, actually not the Balefiend, but the familiar warriors here are slowly moving forward, trying to go for a flanking maneuver. These Norscan Warhounds here, thanks to this hill right here, they're actually hidden. So the Empire doesn't really know they're there, and they can take 2 different paths to strike the Empire backlines. The missile line of the Empire is so wide, there are actually quite a few gaps in the defenses of the state troops that the Hounds can exploit. Right now, it seems that Cool Umbrella is maneuvering all his Norscan forces, focusing onto one flank, forcing his opponent to tilt around the formation accordingly. Most likely going for a flank overload as the familiar warriors are pushing forward. Same for the Marauder Horsemasters, just going all in on this flank right now. While the Warhounds at the back got discovered and shot up by some of the silver bullets, will be retreating back to safety, waiting for another chance to engage. Over here, the familiar warriors are now discovered, will be pushing ahead, eating a lot of missile fire as the huntsmen are opening fire, unleashing their anti-large arrows onto them, while the Knights of the Blazing Sun are not willing to engage in this combat. Actually, I don't think the Knights of the Blazing Sun will do too bad up against the Balefiend if they get a charge, because they do have that magic resistance, effectively mitigating that armor-piercing magic damage from the familiar warriors. Of course, with a nice net from the light wizard there, they will be eating a lot of missiles, silver bullets, huntsman fire. They are taking quite some damage. A burning head goes down the line on some crossbowmen, roasting them, doing quite a bit of an HP damage, but not a lot of kills here, as they are now unleashing their crossbow bolts into the unshielded marauders with great weapons. Now in the front line, the Marauder infantry assault is mounting as they are charging into the state troops. If they do not have that missile interference, they actually can make short work of these state troops, but unfortunately, the crossbows are just too much for them. Wolfric's boat sails through a bunch of crossbowmen, leaving a path of destruction and carnage, doing a lot of HP damage, but still not a lot of kills, allowing the crossbowmen to continue their fire, routing all these Marauder infantry with the help of some Sigma Suns. With the infantry assault failing, the Horsemasters are taking it upon themselves, charging straight into combat, attempting a massive flank overload with sheer numbers of cavalry. However, they are now stuck on some spears, giving the perfect opportunity for the silver bullets and huntsmen to focus down these glass cannon units with their low armor and low HP. Now on the left flank of the Empire army, with so many marauders blobbing onto a single state troops, a beautiful banishment goes down along the line, blasting away all these poor marauders. Of course, there's a bit of a friendly fire and a routed spear, but routing a spear in exchange for 2 Marauder units, I'll take that trade any day. But bad news for the Empire, as the Norsca use their own AoE spell for retaliation, a perfect placement of Burning Head, roasting all these missile units, including the silver bullets, who are taking a lot of damage, not only from the Burning Head but also from the pursuing Marauders. And now Volkmar trying to stem the tide by himself, but it's not quite enough. To revenge their friends, the crossbowmen are turning their fire onto the Balefiend. So Wolfric, to save his friend, dives straight into combat, charge into the crossbowmen to shut them down. But still, that one Burning Head reaps some heavy casualties on the missile units of Empire. Right now, being terrorized by the Burning Head and chased down by the Marauder infantry, they are all routed and pushing towards the corner of the map. At the back, the Knights of the Blazing Sun getting focus fired by all these Marauder Horsemasters there. As I said, they do have very powerful missiles. Let's have a closer look to their missile strengths. Every one of their missile does 8 armor-piercing damage. It really adds up even with the missile block chance and 100 armor. Suffering heavy losses, the Knights can't take it anymore. Pulling back from that engagement, trying to recharge this little pocket of Norscan troops to get a little bit of a recharge damage and also leadership break. But unfortunately, the unique berserk mechanic of the Norscans is active right now, providing that extra leadership and physical resistance to these Marauder infantry, making them hold slightly longer in combat. But of course, as I said, that they're going to break from the rear charge. However, the Miststalkers are still fighting armor-piercing, armor-sundering. With the reduced armor, this provides a massive damage boost to all these javelins on the Knights of Blazing Sun. At an overview, the troops are extremely scattered on the battlefield. The pocket of missile troops of the Empire has finally regrouped over here, shooting down these unshielded Marauders. No doubt we'll be able to finish it off with the help of some spearmen. However, this is not a good situation at all, as this one lone Horsemaster can run down all these missile infantry by itself. A beautiful Shim's Burning Gaze crashes into the face of Wolfric the Wanderer, taking away a huge chunk of his health and putting him down to 600 HP. Wolfric is routed, but unfortunately the Miststalkers are here blocking the way. Volkmar can't really chase him down and will have to pull back from combat, probably not wanting a chariot to fight alone in this kind of monster blob, trying to get some spears to help out. And over here we have some Marauder Horsemaster flooding forward as well, and with these guys present, there's nothing in the Empire roster that can chase them down. And unfortunately for the state troops here, their missile comrades are just getting ran over by all these Marauder Horsemaster. Won't be returning to combat at all, a massive loss for the Empire. Just like the Glade Riders or Reaver Archers, while being a solid skirmisher, these Marauder Horsemasters have pretty good melee stats as well, with 26 attack, 26 defense, and 26 weapon strength. The stats are decent, and also somebody in CA is definitely being lazy. Now, they will be routing off all these missile units and putting a rather big dent in the balance of power for the Empire. Of course, Volkmar is constantly healing with his Jade Griffin, trying to delay that army losses as he drags back the balance of power. But honestly, things are looking pretty grim for the believers of Sigmar. All these missiles being lost means that Empire do not have the means to deal with any of these skirmishing cavalry. The only option for Volkmar is to keep dodging and wait for their opponent to run out of ammo, essentially becoming a sitting duck. With all the missiles gone, the rest of the crossbow and silver bullets are all run over by the Marauder Horsemaster. Light Wizard going for a bit of a Hail Mary right now. Shim's Burning Gaze yet again going after Wolfric the Wanderer, but this time not quite connecting. Due to the low angle, the projectile actually clips the little slope over here and also hits some of the friendlies Knights of Blazing Sun. Now, Knights of the Blazing Sun circling around trying to maybe block off Wolfric the Wanderer, but Wolfric does see that coming, so with the Hound support, they just kind of turn around and start finishing off these spears. While Volkmar the Grim, despite healing, is taking massive damage from all this focus fire from the Marauder Horsemaster. So the Spearman will have to push forward, trying to screen out for Volkmar, while the Light Wizard possibly saving up magic for another Shim's Burning Gaze, just to desperately snipe out Wolfric. Now, noticing that the Knights do not have the hope to finish off Wolfric, they decide to charge into some Norscan Warhounds instead, but this leaves them vulnerable to the countercharge from Wolfric there, slamming home with his chariot. One model goes down to Wolfric's sword, and another model will be going down as well, as they only have 71 speed, while Wolfric, 78 speed on his chariot, will be able to easily catch up with them. So all that's left on the battlefield for Empire is Volkmar the Grim and also some slightly beaten up spears. They are still relatively healthy, but none of them has any hope to catch the Marauder Horsemasters. On the far side, Wolfric's HP is lowered yet again due to another Shim's Burning Gaze, but he's not going down just yet. With 14 HP, he is trying to survive here, but then he goes down to a flimsy Light Wizard from the Magic College. Surviving with only 6 HP, this Light Wizard here should really be proud of himself here, as he has hunted down the Hunter of Champions. Sure, this Light Wizard is routing, but after all he's been through, nobody can really blame him. He should be remembered as the hero of Empire and get some well-deserved rest. Now back to the middle engagement, you can see that these Marauder Horsemasters are just having a hell of a time chucking javelins into any man of the Empire. Volkmar the Grim is almost hitting his healing cap, while the Marauder Horsemasters can very legally kite him to death. After all, kiting is part of the game, and it is part of the accepted mechanics in any kind of tournament. Unless you are a single entity, then that's gonna be an issue of concern. For skirmishing cavalry multi-entities like these Marauder Horsemasters, they can just easily just kite around against Volkmar the Grim here. This one doesn't even care, he can get caught, slaughtered even, but still that's not gonna change much. With all these missile units chipping away Volkmar's health, and now after running out of ammo, charging into melee combat, using one multi-entity unit to pin down Volkmar the Grim, pull out another unit, and just rinse and repeat, just cycle charging Volkmar to death. So knowing the futility of combat, the Empire player throws in the towel. Now before we go into army performances, I'd like to say a big thanks to Cool Umbrella for sending in this replay, GG to Cool Umbrella and Rocket Rogue. And also thank you viewers for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe in order to stay notified every time I upload a new video. They will be covering topics including multiplayer battle replays like this one, tips and strategies for multiplayer for Total War Warhammer 2, and also wild army builds. And if you have any replays that you want to showcase, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me an email with the replay file attached. I'll be sure to check them out. Now for the army performances, Cool Umbrella here leading the Norscan forces. The Marauders didn't really do too much here. One of them was able to get back their own value, but mostly they just get shot up by all the missiles, especially these Great Weapon variant who do not have the shield to block missiles. The Norscan Warhounds, the micro on Cool Umbrella this game was not quite on point. They were caught by the Knights of the Blazing Sun there. However, it did buy time for all these Marauder Horsemasters to send those javelins into the face of these Knights of Blazing Sun, doing some massive damage, the crossfire even killing off one of the knights. Afterwards, the mobility presence of the Empire is basically non-existent. Miststalkers managed to do some significant damage this time, as there are not a lot of units on the Empire army that can threaten it. The only unit that can do so are the Silver Bullets, and it got shut down early due to the nice burning head from the familiar Balefiend. It got 1100 gold damage, a lot of value, especially roasting up these expensive handgunners. Wolfric the Wanderer, 2297 gold value, definitely dishing out a lot of pain against the infantry of Empire, and also grind down some key units including the Light Wizard and Volkmar the Grim. Now of course the MVP of this army, the Marauder Horsemasters. I might actually do a unit focus on these guys at some point, but right now let's have a look at their unit performances. Every one of them got well over 1000 gold damage value. Their javelins are just so much pain against any heavy cavalry. Yes, they are not primarily armor piercing, but that's more than enough to chip away the health of these heavy knights. And as an excellent mobility, they can just run down all these missile units, especially after they got routed by the Burning Head. They're tattered, all the infantry from the Empire are occupied by melee combat, so these Marauder Horsemasters has free reign over the battlefield, considering that the Knights of Blazing Sun are eliminated from combat. And in the end, their javelins are too much even for Volkmar to handle, chipping away his health until these Marauder Horsemasters can challenge Volkmar in melee combat. Now for the Empire army, state troops, they are state troops after all, so not really much can be said about them other than the Sigmar Sons, who managed to rout off a couple Marauder units. At the back we have the crossbowmen getting directly threatened by a lot of the mobility here. We have the Marauder Horsemasters. We also have a huge burning head dumped across the line, burning away all these crossbowmen. The Empire front line buckling, allowing these Marauders to pressure the back line. They weren't able to do too much damage here, not even the silver bullets, as they were one of the first to get routed by the Burning Head. After that, they just got ran over by all the Marauder Horsemasters. Now the Light Wizard really should get a raise for killing off Wolfric. He should be proud of himself for killing one of the best duelists in the game, also being a dead-eye sniper with those Shim's burning gaze. Volkswagen Grim, always a solid unit, using that Soulfire Bombardment to blast away all the infantry cavalry he faced, but still not enough to carry the game as the Horsemasters are just way too much. Knights of Blazing Sun, one of them got routed early by all the javelins, the other managed to get some value back, but unfortunately just not enough to win themselves the game. Overall, a very fun battle with a great use of Marauder Cavalry, showcasing how powerful these guys can be. And yeah, that's basically it for today's replay. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.